Welcome to another episode of the Glint Standard. Today I'm with Miriam, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about Women's History Month. Hey!
Hola!
Well, it is the beginning of March.
It is.
We are both a little bit hot because it's like 80 degrees outside.
Too hot.
Too hot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the end of the world.
Yes, I'm starting to jump on that bandwagon.
I think so. So if you see us fanning,
Just know
it's okay. Well, so this month is also Women's History Month.
Yes.
And we have done a lot of reflecting on trailblazers in history, women who have made such an impact on America, our craft. I think we released a blog last week about some marketers and advertisers who were the first and had notable gains.
Yeah.
And so this is just our month to reflect. So we took out, thanks to Miriam, we took out what we were going to talk about this month and just threw it.
I mean, we just pushed.
Did we throw it?
We just pushed it back a little bit. We just said make room for the women.
Make room, because it's so important.
It is.
And y'all, I want to tell you that this is not going to be an attack session. We are not attacking anyone else. We are just going to talk about our realities as women in business, or women professionals, what we come across, what our lens is like, and how we overcome them. Yeah. Hopefully we'll do that. But I first want to ask you, why was it so important for us to talk about this month?
I think that it is a conversation that is never truly had. It's almost like we all understand. Yeah. Right? I understand if I see another woman in business, even especially a woman of color in business, or any space really, and you see that maybe you and her are the only one there, or you're the only one there. It's like you understand. There's like this basic understanding between you that you know that there was probably a struggle for you to get through that door.
Yes.
Without you even having to say
so
it.
There's a bond, just right away.
Yeah.
And sorry, everybody else.
Right,
but actually, after all of these years and all of the challenges, we need that. Is it okay for us to have that?
Yeah.
Safety and security and familiarity every now and then, you know?
Or it's okay to, let other people know, like, hey, I really do understand you and I really do know where you're coming from. And that's anybody, right? Not just women, but, men and minorities and everybody. Because we all have our own personal struggles. It's just understanding each person's and taking it into account and just not needing to validate it, but just understanding it.
Understanding, yeah.
And knowing it exists.
We talk a lot about these things, and I always say, you don't have to go out in the streets, with and march and for the cause or have banners or flags. Yeah. Just acknowledge and move on. And interestingly enough, Craig and I talk about this quite a lot. He hears my side and my perspective on moving through professional opportunities and things, and I hear his side, and we compare and contrast, and it leads to really good conversations and understanding. Yeah. So, which I really never had.
Yeah.
Really never had professionally.
And you value it. You value it, right? Because again, it's not. There's not a problem that you can fix, but there's a problem that you can acknowledge, and together we can work on a solution.
Right. Well, I just jotted down some notes, and I know you'll fill in.
I will fill in
where necessary. But I wanted to start with something that's positive about being women in business, and one is that we, being the only, or sometimes being the minority, it gives us an opportunity to shine. Yeah. I'll tell you the bad part about that later on. But it gives us an opportunity to differentiate and something to really be, I don't know, more noteworthy sometimes if all of the pieces fit together.
Yeah.
If everything comes together, it could be a great thing.
Yeah.
But often it's not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the one thing I always tell you, I love a little bit of the unexpected, right? When you see somebody, whoever it may be, and you think that you know who they are based on, especially with, I think the millennial generation that's really into the whole tattoos and kind of the individual style and all of that sometimes you see some of those characteristics and you automatically have biases, right? And then you add on top of that being a woman, and then you add on top of that being a minority. And so you definitely have some odds against you in terms of what people already think about you.
Yes.
But for me, I feel like that's not a negative. It's almost like, okay, let me walk in this room. I mean,
let me walk in this room.
Yeah, right. Yes. Let me walk in this room and show you. Unfortunately, we do have to walk into rooms knowing that we have to prove ourselves, because we unfortunately are questioned as to the validity of why we're there, right?
Often.
Everything, right?
It's kind of like the assumptions that are made for us are not necessarily positive.
Yeah. Right.
And that's what we're battling against. So before we even walk into a room, we have gone over scenarios. We have thought about if it goes bad, if it goes good. I mean, everything. Or we're very aware of the other people in the room.
Yes.
Very aware. Because we know that can lead to retaliation. In some form.
Yeah, or almost like I told you so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not even it's just you just proved my point, right? We knew that you weren't good enough to be here, and you just proved that. And it's almost like any little thing that is a hiccup or a stumble is automatically like just zoomed in on.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough. It's tough being, I mean, I know personally, even now, with what I do, additionally from Glint, I work in tech, and I am in groups where I'm still the only Hispanic woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I when you're surrounded by people that see your value and your worth, and when you tell them about your experience, not because you're having to prove it, but just to remind them, and they're like, yeah. And they see the value and they push you forward, and I'm always thankful for you, because you've always done that for me.
Well, thanks. Well, thanks.
There's
no other way.
But it's that. It's being in spaces, and when you have those people, when you have those people around you that do understand that your experience is as valuable as the next, and even sometimes better, because you're bringing a different perspective.
I believe it. And that's why those bonds are so important as well. Yeah, it's something else. It's something else.
For sure.
We covered kind of we don't stop thinking.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
We're always looking at people's behavior, what they say, and reacting to it, and versus being proactive and being ourselves and doing. So it's always kind of this sit back mentality before you go and do your thing.
Yeah.
But like you said, it is an opportunity sometimes when you are different, and for you to shine and be and be something that people remember.
Oh yeah.
Like people will remember your name. I mean, well, obviously with a name like Erayne,
it's okay.
They say it
with
right,
a personality like Miriam.
and with a personality like Miriam, I mean, when they go home at night, they're gonna know.
They're gonna know. Or the next time they see us, they're gonna remember.
And that's
that's a great thing.
It's a good feeling. One of the other things is that we do battle with as women in business is just, and I think this goes for anybody because it can be for anything, is unconscious bias.
Oh yeah.
We see it, or maybe we're more let me say it differently. Maybe we are more aware of it and perhaps impacted more by unconscious bias. A woman's place, a minority woman's place.
Yeah.
And then because we know that we have to be prepared, or it will completely derail us.
Yeah. Well, there's narratives that already exist about women that look like us. You know, there's already these preconceived notions, these stereotypes. And, you know, sometimes, unfortunately, and even unconsciously by the person that you may be having a conversation with or that you may be working with, they don't realize that they're almost pushing you to unleash that stereotype.
Ooh, but don't.
But don't. I mean, don't. But if you do, because there's also a beauty in it. I also say that, right? Because I know with, like, thinking of myself as a Latina, you know, you always get the idea that, you know, spicy and sassy and, you know, and I am. Yeah. And I am. Yes. But I'm okay with that, right? Because it's how, what do you do with it in that space, right? And finding the balance of how do you make it work for you?
Right. How do you make it work?
To make you stand out.
Right. Yeah.
In the positive light.
Yeah.
You know,
but you know, for some people though, this could take years, you know,
yeah.
to really
I mean, it
took
us.
out.
I mean, I know it took me years.
I mean, it's taken me years too.
Yeah.
And then also, going back to what we were talking about before, like how it's an opportunity to be different and it differentiates us. And we know in advertising in this industry, we love to be the differentiator. But what about those women who don't and who aren't about that, who maybe get nervous or anxious when there is that opportunity and it might float by? I think there's more women like that than not, actually.
Yeah, no,
and
I think you're right.
So when you think about those women that don't take advantage, yeah, it is a loss.
Yeah.
It's a loss.
And sometimes, you know, and it's tough because even just women in general, in comparison to men, and even when applying for jobs or looking for any opportunities moving forward, women almost feel like they have to tick every single box that's required. When a man can do like 2 and they're like, I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like it's a very
checklist.
Yeah.
The checklist.
And that's really where I think the loss of opportunities is it's in ourselves. Because we've almost bought into that idea of like we're not good enough, we're not doing enough.
I think a lot of us do that.
You know what I mean? And we're not doing enough. That we get caught up in our heads about it.
And it's a bad thing to go and do different things or take care of different people or take care of other things. Yeah. You know, to be versatile. Sometimes it can be presented as a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I think as women, just in general, is to give ourselves some grace. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because on top of trying to break through the glass ceilings of business and enter new levels and new spaces and new territories and feel comfortable doing, secure in what you're doing, on top of you trying to like go and like girl power your way through everything, you know, society has also a lot of things weighing on you, right? The responsibility if you decide to be a motherhood, right? The responsibility depending, you know, for the most part as a woman, you're taking care of family, you know, your
aging parents,
you know, siblings, mothers, everybody, right? You're taking care of everybody because that's just, women are nurturers and that's just what's ingrained in us. So on top of trying to break through, we have all of that as well. So it's really, at the end of the day, give yourself grace. If anything, give yourself grace, because women are, you know, we bring something different to the table. We understand in terms of just marketing dollars, the value and the worth in the spend, right, that women bring to the table.
Think about how much we think outside the box.
Yeah.
We're already there.
Are we thinking outside the box, or are we including women's perspectives? Because that's a thing too.
But we're always looking for solutions. I think that is, and people forget about that. Yeah. I mean, it's just automatically. Yeah. I have a plan A, but I've got a plan B. C.
That's it.
And it is not an emergency till it gets to plan B, or you know, it gets
and
here.
Even plan B is more of like, this is like hopeful, wishing everything's perfect. Plan B, we know we can do that. Plan C, okay, we really
no,
we're scrambling a little bit. But you're right. It's that. It's bringing the different perspective. It's bringing different ideas, different points of view, different backgrounds, right? Because you're talking about an ad agency, you're talking about looking at different demographics, and when you have a little bit of a reflection of who you're trying to to reach, or maybe the demographic that you wish you could reach. You have somebody almost on the inside. You know what I mean? And even if that person may not, they have them around them. So you just extend.
You know what else I love about us?
I mean, do tell.
We are, just as you were talking, we are flexible. We are not rigid.
Yeah.
And I think by nature, that's what we are.
Yeah.
And so that adds to thinking about different things and different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And I think that is a skill that we should play up a lot more than we do. But I think it's important to talk about these things because as we look at the women that are being honored or being celebrated during this month, look at the challenges they had to go through to do what they did. And it reminds us, or it should empower us to continue to be strong and continue to plow forward. And that there will be bad days, but you will come back on top. So I wanted to get to this because I said earlier about the retaliation of us sometimes being the differentiator. One of the things is, and I want to tell the audience in case men are listening or watching, but y'all, if we say too much in a meeting, what are we labeled as?
Yeah.
We're labeled as know-it-alls, and it's usually a negative connotation.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Chatty Cathy had so much to say.
No. Well, if you would just listen, we are right.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, not all the time. But, I mean, so we can't say too much. And these are all the things going into our minds. The other thing is if you're too opinionated, and I've had many opportunities in my life where this has happened. Yeah. It is a negative for me. It is always a negative. I'm either labeled aggressive, of course, angry black woman. That is not just some key phrase. It is life. It is living. It is what we go through. And it is always in the negative. I'm the person trying to stir things up in an environment that's supposed to be so calm and probably ineffective. But, and it's just, gosh, you get tired of the labels.
You do.
Give me a label that maybe you've had. Well, you talked about being a Latina.
Yeah.
But what's another label?
I mean, spicy can mean so many different things. So you can be the same, right? You can be too loud, right? Because, believe me, I know. If I get with my sisters, we are loud. Yeah. Like, that's given. Like, I know that. So I'm always aware, like, tone of my voice. How loud am I? Right? Because sometimes just that's in me. If I get excited, I want to be loud. I want it like, or angry, right? I think one of the best things feedback that you ever gave me was letting me let things marinate. Because as a woman, right, we're labeled in general. We're labeled emotional. Yeah,
you'll end up with no job.
You get labeled emotional because you want an instant reaction or whatever it may be. So it's like, okay, then we have to be aware of that. And it's like, okay, let me sit down, let me think. Yeah. And how angry am I really? And let me put together what I'm actually trying to say so you can hear what I'm saying. Right? Because even at that, I can put together the most eloquent speech and put it in front of somebody. And if they are not ready to hear me or to actually just to listen to me,
they won't hear you and they won't see you.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how many times have you felt unseen where people actually don't even see you?
Oh, yeah. A lot of moments in my career.
How does that happen?
A lot of moments. Yeah.
How are we sitting next to some and they don't even see us?
Or just not realizing how much of the work that they're talking about you actually do.
I know.
But the absence is felt, so it's fine.
Yeah. Another retaliation, if you really advocate for yourself and you do all of those others.
You're asking for too much.
Yes, you're too big for your britches.
You're asking for too much.
Yeah.
You're lucky to be here.
You're lucky to be
that's really, at the end of the day.
And y'all, audience, then people have to suppress that because that doesn't belong in this culture. And yes, it does because it's being done all the time. But when we do it, it's we gotta quench that.
Yeah.
You know? So it's very interesting. One thing that that I wish was different in talking about women and successes and advancements is the competition that happens.
Yeah.
That is often fueled by people who don't understand the bond, and they pit one woman against the other. And some of us fall prey to that.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to stop it.
I don't think we can, right? Because some women do grasp onto the idea of, you know, that dog-eat-dog world. And that's the mentality that was probably ingrained in them when they first got into their to their career. Like, you're only going to be successful if you act like a man. You're only going to be successful if everybody's your competition.
That's what... Well, you know, I'm going to bring up Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I know that she's polarizing. But that is what she said. That's how she was groomed. Yeah. And so then, in you know, all of her life, she's groomed in that way. And then we get into the present, and then now she's vilified. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Because now women it's okay to be soft. It's okay to be a woman, because even as a woman, you can take up space. Yeah. Yeah. You can claim your spot and say, I belong here. Yeah. Yeah. You know? Right. And that's the difference. It's tough. It's tough for the women that came before us that had to put on, you know, just a strong exterior and continue to push through that strong exterior. And after a while, that is who they are. You know?
Because it was out of survival.
Yeah. And so we are thankful for them, and we appreciate what they've done, and we can't villainize them. Yeah. We can't hold them accountable for what their environment has almost caused them to be. And that's in any industry and any, right? But I think about the creative space and working in just what we do, and I don't get that sense. Yeah. It's a very different type of space. I feel like for the most part, even when in our credit union days, there was always this sense of collaboration, this sense of like,
loved it. Just,
you know what I mean? It was like, yes, there was competition, of course. Like, if you're in my market, I'm not gonna share with you, but you made friends with people outside of it, and you shared, and there was no, like, oh, well, no, I don't like her because da-da-da. No, it was more of like, oh, you do what I do, you understand my struggles. Outside of your personal struggles, we know what we're all up against. We're all up against big banks, or we're all up against whatever this Goliath is. So we understand.
Let's work together.
Yeah, and we forget everything else, and we say that is our common enemy, or that is our common cause, and that's, you know, and I think...
I wish other... areas, industries thought like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, we did drink the Kool-Aid of credit unions and people helping people. And when you start with that, then you're in a good place, I think. Yeah. And I think that's carried over into what we do here, right? It's people helping people. That's what we're here to do, right? Regardless of your background or anything like that.
Not being an obstacle, not adding to the challenges of your day. Not adding.
No, because again, as women, a lot of times we are working with women that are in those positions, and we understand what their work. So at that end of the day, we're here to make sure that your marketing or wherever you're pulling us in is gonna make you look great. Yes, because you already did what you needed to do to get there. So you are the rock star, and we're going to make sure that we're supporting you in every way that we can.
Ooh, I feel it. Ooh. We could probably talk every day for like a few hours about these things. But we're not. We're not. We're going to...
unless you want to, you can let us know.
We're going to close it up right here. Well, I enjoy talking about women and women's empowerment and inspirations, and I'm really glad that you brought this topic forward so that we can discuss. And y'all, if you want to have some tough conversations but that end in good spirits, please visit us at Glint. Here we talk about politics. We talk about and we talk about race. We talk about all types of things because we know where to stop, where to start. So we're very mindful of how we react to one another. And we respect one another. So anyway, you can catch this podcast on all of your social social media stations or whatnot. We're everywhere.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and so we hope to see you soon, okay?
Please give us a thumbs up below if you like this episode, and feel free to leave us any questions or comments you may have. To check out our past episodes, do so here. Subscribe to our channel below.